Beyond the narrative. Beyond the narrative. Best in class, so pray for my peers. Slingshot bullet that's clear. Your weak shots couldn't pierce through bulletproof ears. A martyr, a menace. I'm leading horses to drink and pulling teeth like I'm feeding the dentist. Beyond the narrative.
Thank you for watching our show. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date with all of our content.
Welcome to another episode of The Crossover. Today's episode is brought to you by BTN Connect, powered by Athlete Narrative. It's the all-in-one recruiting platform helping athletes get seen, get signed, and get to the next level and get that bag.
Get that bag. Let's go.
So, special guest today. I'm sitting in for El Jefe, Andy, and he's out taking care of some corporate business so we can keep the lights on.
That's right.
And I got my man Keyon Dooling with me.
Yes, sir. What's up, Neil?
And a special guest, South Florida legend, former FIU basketball coach, originally from the Asylum in the Miami High stomping grounds, Coach Sergio Rouco.
Hola, Nevin. How are you, buddy?
Two of my favorite people in the world. Anyway, let's get right into it. NBA's on fire, man. We're going to talk about the Knicks-Celtics series today. That is a crucial Game 6. And all the New Yorkers are going crazy. They haven't seen this type of hype in... I was a little guy, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still a little guy, but back when I was a youngster.
That's
anyway,
right.
Katie, talk to me, man. How you feeling about this Game 6, and give us your input.
Yeah, so Game 6, I think the Knicks will close it out in Madison Square Garden. The Celtics played good basketball with JT kind of going down. Jaylen Brown rose to the occasion. He has that potential. He has that capacity, right? He's a finals MVP. He's an NBA champion. So you can never, discount the heart of a champion. But that Celtics team is really good. You know, I picked them to go all the way, but you can't account for injuries during the playoffs, right?
Right.
And injuries are a part of the game, and sometimes you get the luck of the draw and it goes positive for you. But sometimes, you lose your best player. So I like the Knicks to close it out in Madison Square and advance to the conference finals.
Yeah, one question. So do you give Boston a fighting chance as a defending champ?
Yeah.
They're not just going out like that. You've personally, you found yourself in a situation feeling good about yourself.
Yeah.
Going back when against the Heat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And LeBron came out of body.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, Game 6, I've never won a Game 7, but Game 6 has been a nightmare for me as well. I still wake up sometimes in a cold sweat just thinking about LeBron's 45, 17, 8, and 5, and 6, and all those things that he did that night. But, just for me, I think the Knicks are battle-tested. I still think they have the best clutch player in the NBA right now. I believe Jalen Brunson is the best clutch player in the NBA, not only visibly, but analytically. I think he's right at the top.
Right.
And I just don't think that you're going to go into New York and win tonight. But it's possible. You can never count out the heart of a champion. But I'm going to go with the Knicks against the Celtics this next Game 6.
Okay. Coach, how do you see it?
I agree with Keyon. If Brunson wasn't on that team, I'd say that Boston would have a better chance. I don't think they can win in New York, especially can they repeat shooting the ball White and Brown shooting the ball like they did. And the disappearance of Karl Towns and Agnobi yesterday, they didn't show up.
Yeah, they struggled.
And they'll show up in New York. And I think New York wins it, and I think they'll win it convincingly.
Yeah. So, Coach, let me ask you a question. So you've been around this game forever, right? And you've seen thousands of players, right? The guys who think they know it all, the guys who walk like this and that. When you look at a guy like Jalen Brunson, he obviously did great in college, but he was never he never got that love. When you look at a guy like this, what's your take on?
He has it special. You know, you recruit a bunch of guys and you sign a bunch of guys, and not everyone has it. Luka has it. Those are guys that come around once in a blue moon, and they're lucky as a franchise that they made the move. People talk about Luka going to L.A. and mad at the guy at Dallas. Well, they should be mad at that they didn't keep Brunson in Dallas. Think about that. If he would have stayed in Dallas and played with Kyrie.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah.
Great point. Katie, let me ask you a question. So let's say the Knicks lose at home.
Mm-hmm.
What's the mindset for both teams going into Game 7?
Yeah, well, I think, I don't think neither one of these teams lack confidence. I believe they both believe that they can win, right? I do believe that they're a confident bunch, both teams. But if the Knicks lose this series, then they still got another opportunity to close it out. It's hard to beat a very good team 3 games in a row. So Boston will have their hands full, especially being down Tatum and not having like that star power that he brings and that consistency that he brings. But it's a dogfight, right? And like the playoffs are like that. And it's the first to 4 in all these series. So at the end of the day, like if they have to go back and win on the road, it's more difficult to win on the road. So, in their mind, they're probably like, hey, we're going to close it out in Game 6.
So they're guns up right now.
Yeah, guns up.
Mm-hmm. One follow-up with regards to the East, and then we'll move on. But who's the better matchup for Indiana?
Wow. You know what? Indiana's playing some great basketball. They just took down the number 1 seed convincingly. And I know Cleveland had some injuries during that series, but like Indiana dominated, from top to bottom. Last year, I think the Knicks put Indiana out, right? And I think the Knicks are better this year, even though, I just think the Knicks are a better team this year. I think they have more experience, more continuity. I think Brunson has taken another step. So it's too early for me to say, who would be the better matchup. Okay. But if I'm the Pacers, I would probably rather play the Celtics without Tatum than to deal with a healthy Knicks.
Yeah. Coach, your position.
Agreed 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Although in every sport, who's playing well at the end, you forget what happened last year. And I think Indiana has a guy who's playing at a level himself, is Haliburton. He's taken it to another level, which he didn't have last year.
Well, if you ask Andy, our real host here, top 5.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Haliburton?
Yeah.
I got to say yes because he's our boss. And I leave it at that. Right. No top 5 for me.
Katie and I had a different opinion.
Yeah, not yet.
Anyway, moving on. So, all right, Golden State goes down last night to Minnesota. My initial thoughts are no Steph Curry, no shot. No surprise. Jimmy Butler beat up from his fall. Couldn't be that $112 million man that they probably expected him to be. And that's not a shot at him because he really did take a bad fall, man.
Yeah.
But, man, give me Anthony Edwards, man.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Minnesota.
Man, Ant-Man, it's his time. There's always going to be young Lions coming up in the pride to take over. And it's not just his charisma and his play on the court. It's also his leadership qualities, right? His competitiveness, his joy that he, plays the game with, his ferocity, like the way he engages with the crowd, the way that he talks shit, the way that he, dresses so simple, like he's really coming to hoop at the end of the day. And, man, it's just fun to see Ant-Man continue to grow. And he's not just an offensive player, right? He defends on a high level, right? He gets blocks, he gets steals, he makes hustle plays. And, just having a guy like that, man, he's a generational player.
Yeah. Coach, your thoughts on Anthony Edwards and the Wolves?
The Wolves are going to be very hard to beat, and I have them going to the finals.
Okay.
I don't care who wins the other series of Denver and OKC. I think OKC's got to mature a little bit. I think Minnesota's a little bit more physical, and they have a big man in the middle that changes a lot of the game. So I like Minnesota a lot.
So great point. So we were talking before we came in here, with the evolution of Rudy Gobert as an anchor. Obviously, he's been a multiple defensive player of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
What's he giving you as the backbone of that squad defensively?
This show is brought to you by BTN Connect, powered by Athlete Narrative. Parents, you're probably spending thousands and thousands of dollars trying to get your kid recruited and going nowhere fast. But with this app for $15 a month, solves all the headaches that you're going through. And this app is backed by AI, which saves you a ton of time, and you don't have to write manually and trying to track these coaches down. Be sure to hit the link in our description or in our bio. Sign up now.
Well, he wouldn't be Defensive Player of the Year if he's not. Mm-hmm. The thing that he's beginning to is getting those points, or Ant-Man is the one facilitating him. He's not a real go-to guy and say, go get a basket.
No, offensively.
But he's a guy that off penetration, off lobs, and a lot of those guys that are not good offensive players try to do things that they're not supposed to, and he stays in his lane, man. He knows his job is he's bread and butter by blocking shots. And like Ken said, they're playing very well together, and his leadership, his maturity, Ant's maturity on composure during the game, I think has helped him. But it's a part of growing up.
So Katie, let me ask him as a former NBA guy, right? What's it like psychologically knowing you got to do like that behind you defensively?
It emboldens
you.
It makes you look better. At the end of the day, Rudy Gobert, man, is made improvements in his defensive capacity, in my opinion. Here's why I say that. Because now when he switches on people, because of the experience of Luka breaking them down for game winners and things like that, he's doing a better job of switching, right, defensively. I also believe that, like, him being behind you has given those guys more courage to put more pressure on the ball and kind of channel them to Rudy. And I had an opportunity to coach Rudy when I was with the Utah Jazz, and I know how much he covers up for everybody who might lack that foot speed or just the defensive mentality.
Right.
And so I've seen a lot of growth in his game, and I credit Ant-Man with that a lot because, like, his leadership style is like from like the inner city of the United States of America, right? And it's something about like coming from the inner city in the U.S. that like unlocks and empowers and encourages other people, right? You know what I'm saying? To like get that dog going. And I got to give Ant-Man a lot of credit for that because though he's a young player, like he's really like, challenged those guys to grow.
So one follow-up question on Rudy Gobert. So like, when you're going at him offensively, what does it look like?
It's like an eclipse. You know what I mean? You literally can't see, the rim when you're attacking him. Historically, since he's been in the NBA, he's been the best pick and roll 5-man in the league. He has the ability in pick and rolls to play the pocket pass, to defend against a lob, and to contest. It is a superpower that a lot of people can't recognize and embrace that he's so good at that. But his agility is off the charts. Obviously, being from Europe, they have that soccer footwork. And he might not possess that on the offensive end, but defensively, backpedaling, man, Rudy Gobert is one of the most difficult guys to score on in pick and roll. And we all know that this is a pick and roll game.
Hakeem the Dream had that type of footwork and athletic ability as well.
Absolutely.
From a soccer background.
Absolutely.
So switching to Golden State now, they go out. I think there are a lot of people cheering for them, me as well. It's not the same without Steph. We all know. What's next for them? Is their window closed? Is it still open a little? What do you see?
Well, I think they doubled down when they signed Jimmy to the extension, and so they're going to give that core group an opportunity to compete, again.
Last ride,
right? I believe that, but what I'm a little concerned with them is their future. The way that they mismanaged Kuminga throughout the playoffs, throughout the season, especially after he came back from the injury, I don't know if he'll be as open to coming back there. But the good thing about the collective bargaining agreement is that he'll be a restricted free agent. And so, like, if he goes out and he gets market value, they still may be able to.
They can retain him.
They can retain him, but whoever goes out and signs him, they probably have to front load the contract because they got
and they're going to have to give a bag.
They're going to have to give a bag, but I think their window is closing. I think at the end of the day, man, like all good things do come to an end. But man, they put in work.
They did.
They were a dynasty for a time
no
and space.
Necessary.
Yep, and they'll go down in NBA history as one of the best groups of
all time.
Of all time,
no question. Coach, your thoughts?
Draymond Green, without Curry, he showed how great a player he is. I mean, here's a guy that couldn't make a three and shooting that three with very much confidence. He's a winner. Golden State will be back. I don't know how many years they will continue it, but they will be back. Jimmy Butler went, 17-4?
Yeah.
You got there?
Yeah, he's 4 for 11.
17-4, getting off a plane. They signed all those guys back. They got a very good coach.
Yeah.
I think he's very good. I think they get a free agent and they get another piece, and I think they'll be back and they'll be a pain in the West Conference.
Yeah, they got. I see them with a 2-year window. It can't be more. You can't expect Steph Curry to keep playing to his 40s. It's not a practical expectation. By the way, shout out to KD, man. You were on that Kuminga call.
Yeah, man.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Before anyone was talking.
Yeah,
Jonathan Kuminga.
The kid is talented.
Yeah,
man.
you were on that, man. You hit that. You hit that one.
Nevin.
Yeah.
Kay, how about the 1-3-1 that Golden State threw out? And it's not a traditional 1-3-1 as you saw. They put the center in the back, and they put a wing in the middle, and he would take first pass, and then it'll go into a 2-3. I thought it was brilliant. I've never seen it that way.
Yeah, I think you're going to start seeing, some more defensive creativity. And now there's so many European coaches coming, over to the States and teaching their brand of basketball. I think you're starting to see this, new wave of, basketball philosophies, right? And the people who are usually on the cutting edge usually are able to benefit it. The Heat threw out a great zone back when they made their run deep in the playoffs when they went to the finals. And a lot of times it's for a couple different reasons. One, you might want to hide somebody, who can't individually match up.
Yeah, that would be me.
Yeah, Neil, we would attack you.
Yeah,
sure.
no question.
But it also could be a situation where you want to throw a team off of their rhythm and make them, instead of reading and reacting, you might want to make them pause a little bit. And so, yeah, I think you'll start to see more zones.
Great X's and O's. Great X's and O's talk, man. I really enjoy this. All right, so let's move on. So we're going to go to Denver OKC. And before I go to you guys, I'm just going to say I think the winner of this series wins it all. This is my call. I'm cheering for OKC. I'm really starting to be a huge fan of Minnesota, though. I can't lie.
Yeah,
because I love Ant-Man.
Yeah,
but I just think I'm cheering for OKC, and I just think that the winner of this series will be as battle tested as you can be, and the Joker's still there. KD.
Yeah. Well, I do think the winner of this series will be OKC, and I think they'll win it all this year, especially with Tatum being out in the East. I don't think the Nuggets are playing well. I know they're in this series, but they're not playing well. Joker has shot under 40% 3 times in this series. Michael Porter Jr., who we got to tip our hats to because, he's struggling shooting the basketball, but guess what? He's playing with the shoulder that needs surgery.
Yesterday.
Right, and so you also have the coaching change, right? And so you see you see some of that as well. And I think as you continue to elevate through the rounds, coaching does play a big role in it.
You could get exposed.
So I'm not a believer in Denver winning it all this year. Obviously, anytime you have Joker on your team, you have an opportunity to win. But to me, it just seems like he's getting worn down, and I don't think that they have enough firepower. Even if they do get past OKC, you know what I mean? I think the Timberwolves, their youth, beating them last year, I would give them the edge if they were able to get past OKC.
So let's make a deal. You're getting your mulligan. You pick the Celtics. No one saw Jayson Tatum getting hurt. I'm letting you pick now. Who's winning it?
OKC.
Okay. Coach, your thoughts? OKC and Denver. So let's go to Game 6. We're in Denver tonight. Just tell me what you're saying.
Braun has to make some shots. Braun had a lot of open looks. These are games that go down to the wire, usually. This one's going to go probably to the wire because Jokic is going to have his.
Yeah, he's going to do
Can he have his a little bit better? Can he get a little help? Can Porter make a few shots? It's the supporting cast.
Yeah.
It's up to the supporting cast of this game. Who's going to win it? I'm going to go off the record and say Indiana or Minnesota. Indiana or Minnesota.
Okay, but you can't sit on the fence.
Sit on the fence?
Yeah, who's
I'm going with Minnesota.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I ain't mad
Honestly,
at that.
yeah.
I'd love to see Ant-Man get one.
That's okay. So we're going to move right on because I think we're going to Game 7 in that OKC game. Those are my thoughts. Okay, the next one, we got Cleveland and the Pacers. Pacers cleaned them up quick. We spoke about Indiana, so I'm not going to repeat the dialogue. But, KD, were you surprised how easy they went through them?
Yes. Yes and no. I'll say yes, I'm not surprised because Indiana is a good team. I think, they have a lot of continuity. They're well coached and they want it, right? And they were a good team last year, and I think, internally they've gotten better. They've just gotten better. The thing that makes it surprising is because Cleveland was, the number one team in the East, but they had injuries.
Yeah.
They had injuries. They had
Yeah, they had an asterisk.
Yep,
Yeah.
and it does play a role in that. And then early in the series, they had some heartbreaking loss where they were up, right? And Haliburton just made some like Reggie Miller type in the Garden type
Top
plays.
5. Where's Andy?
Like I'm gonna shoot the free throw,
Right.
get the rebound, dribble it out,
Crazy.
get in my bag, and then send y'all home for
that
game
was
for
an
3.
amazing play. That
It was an amazing play.
Yeah.
But Donovan Mitchell, man, had a great series. Garland obviously was hurt. Evan Mobley wasn't the same. Strauss didn't shoot the ball well.
Yeah.
They just didn't show up in that moment, and you expected more from Cleveland.
I'm starting to read a lot in recent last 2 days since the series ended. Donovan Mitchell's starting to take some heat, man, as far as not being able to go to the next step. And I've been reading a lot about it through some of the media outlets that cover the NBA. And any thoughts regarding those statements or?
Yeah, I mean, look, so when we were with the Jazz, right, we had the best record in the league and got eliminated in the second round as well.
Yeah.
So he has had some regular season success, but he's always stepped up in the playoffs. His numbers actually go up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You cannot win in the NBA, right, and blame and shoulder all the blame.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have a supporting cast. Unfortunately for him this year, his supporting cast, his best 2 players, his
around the shelf.
his all-stars, Mobley and Garland, they were hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not injured because they were still able to play and push through it. But, like, you're nicked up. And everybody's nicked up during this time. So it's not an excuse. It's just a luck of the draw.
Yeah. So, Coach, your thoughts on and by the way, Indiana is just not a sexy team. And I think that's why people sleep on them. They're just not that sexy team, but they just do work.
It's like Detroit, like old school Detroit, where they had, Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups,
Prince.
all those guys were all stars, but they didn't their stats didn't jump off the board or jump off the page.
They were just dangerous.
But yeah, like on any given night, one of those guys can have it going. But on every night,
yes,
at least 5 of them have it going.
Yeah.
When Indiana gets to the finals, when they signed all those guys in the offseason back, and they kept their core. And they kept it. They evaluated correctly, and they kept the team. They're probably the most closest team. If I see them during games, I think even if they're down,
they like each other.
They like each other. They like to play. So it's a lot to be said of that. When it comes to Cleveland, Garland not playing, puts a lot of pressure on Donovan, and he's got to facilitate and he's got to score. Garland made those big guys better. And Garland not being there, so I'm not going to evaluate Donovan yet and say he's a bust in the playoffs until he has his whole squad.
Yeah. I mean, I think he averaged over 35 points.
No. Listen,
you know what I mean?
I don't know what more the guy could have done offensively.
He put in work, and then he got better defensively. And even during the regular season, he kind of, took a step back in order to get like a few steps forward because he was facilitating more. He was playing more deep on the defensive end. He became more efficient. So I don't want to just throw, my young boy under the bus. But, at some point, like, you will be judged on, like, winning.
Next step.
You got to take the next step.
So let me segue into, I'm hearing some internal rumblings from my sources.
Okay. You and your sources. Let's go.
Well, you know what it is.
Let's go.
You know what it is with me. I'm TMZ. I'm hearing LeBron back to Cleveland. Thoughts?
You know what? I wouldn't mind seeing that. Cleveland's got a young team. I think LeBron brings a certain mystique and he's from there, and he's like on his victory lap right now. To me, it doesn't seem like the fans in Los Angeles truly really embrace LeBron.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even though he delivered a championship, to the city, it was in the bubble. Yep. So I don't think they felt it as much as they felt like, you know what I mean? Can you dig it when Shaq won and things like that?
Agreed.
But like for LeBron, like at the end of the day, man, like wherever he goes, eyes will be on you. You have an opportunity to win. Now, what do you do to get LeBron? Who do you give away? Do you give away, all that young talent and bring LeBron in who's
for
on
a
his
quick hit?
Yeah. Like for me, I wouldn't get rid of Evan Mobley and, Garland and all those guys right now.
Mortgage the whole future for
I wouldn't do it personally. I wouldn't do it personally. But what does he have, a team option or a player option?
I can't even answer.
It might be a player option.
Someone had hit me up last night. Someone whose information I trust. Yeah. And he don't just like gossip. Yeah. And that came to me.
Yeah, I don't think the Lakers part ways with LeBron. He brings too much to the brand. He's got a young Luka there. If they get another piece or two and get a lob threat, which they can do through free agency or the draft, I think they'll be in contention next year.
Okay, so I'm gonna end the NBA part of our segment with Dallas wins the lottery. Coach, thoughts?
Being the number one pick, it's hard, man. The kid's good. The kid had a great career. Everybody's putting a lot of pressure on that kid, and he played on the best college team and had guys around him that were very, very good. When that spotlight hits you on a team like Dallas, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Surprised me that other people didn't try to trade for him. It did. But it'll be interesting. He's one that I'm curious to see how he matures physically, how he makes threes, how he shoots the ball. But his IQ and level of play is tremendous.
You making a move with this first pick to pick up a Greek freak or whatever entertaining options could be out there?
I want the Greek freak to come to Miami. I'd love to see him at Miami. Going to LeBron. LeBron had a hard job following Kobe after he passed, following Kareem, following Shaq. It's a hard place, man, to follow. And then he hurt himself, I think, bringing his son. That's a lot to put on yourself, man. And I don't know if I would have done it. I'm not gonna critique that when he had the opportunity, but it's hard. And it was harder for his son. I think he put his kid in a wrong, bad situation to succeed. Now we're talking about trade. What happens to his son? Do I go to Cleveland and you got to bring my son?
No, it don't. I don't think it works like that anymore.
Yeah.
But to credit, a little credit to Bronny. Bronny had a great season in the G League, and he developed and he's growing as a player. And I know a lot of people, might not like the way that LeBron, kind of threw his weight around. But if not him, then who?
Yeah, no, I got it.
Like at the end of the day, you got to have some leverage, and he used it. So I ain't mad at him.
So I want to get your take. So you're the Dallas, going back to the Dallas winning the lottery. So you're the Dallas GM, which wasn't a comfortable place to be.
Nico had a rough year. Yeah, the name Nico,
like the lottery might have saved this guy, right? We're not going to say if there was something in the, in the hopper with Dallas winning the lottery, but let's just say you're now Nico Harrison. What do you do with the first pick? You taking Cooper Flagg, or are you moving it?
I mean, it's just a matter of if they think the time is now and where they kind of, think Cooper can kind of play into that not right now win mentality. I think that they thought, even before they got the number one pick, if you have a healthy Kyrie, healthy Anthony Davis, a healthy Klay Thompson, you know what I mean, with all these other pieces around them, they felt like they were contenders. And so I love it, to get a young player this talented. Usually our best players, our top 2-3 draft picks, go to bad teams. Like, well, he'll get an opportunity to go to a very, very good team, right? And he'll get an opportunity to develop, maybe not in a way where, he just gets the ball and he gets to learn through his mistakes. He'll be playing championship basketball right now. I don't think you can get the Greek Freak just because monetarily he makes so much money. You would have to trade your whole team away. Yeah. And then what are you left with?
So Cooper Flagg, that analogy you're giving right now. So Cooper Flagg ending up in, let's say, Dallas with all those, with Kyrie, with all those stars around him. It's like Christian Laettner landing at the Dream Team.
Yeah. Pretty much,
the best player out of college, right?
Pretty much, man.
Right? How's that for a transition?
Good for Cooper, though.
Yeah. So what I want to talk about just for a couple of minutes, because this is a really great opportunity to get two South Florida legends into the room at the same time. KD, you're an all-time great South Florida basketball product.
Thank you, Nick.
Lottery pick. I mean, it doesn't get better. The only better it could be is the number one pick. You're a lottery pick. And you're number one pick to me. Anyway.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? And then a coach here who was a head coach at FIU and really historic in his just being around the game, going back, Shaky Rodriguez, God bless his soul, man, and, the way we met and how long we've known one another. Let's talk real quick about South Florida basketball. I'll start with you, Coach. So, man, what have you seen from the days you got into this late 70s, early 80s, and really being at the heart and the forefront of that Miami High asylum, which is epic lore? Like, how have you seen South Florida basketball just progress, man?
For Miami High to get to the level they were, you had to beat someone. There's always someone that you have to beat. And people forget that Jay Caldwell at Miami Jackson, Ernie Bell at Carroll City, had unbelievable teams. He had pros. Mm-hmm. And those guys were basketball in South Florida. Mm-hmm. You have the Elys, the Dillards. Mm-hmm. Everybody strived to beat them, and we had to get to that level. Mm-hmm. I think the coaches in those eras made high school basketball what it was. The judge, guys in the AAU programs that brought these kids in that never got the credit when they were 11 to 13 to 15, that worked and developed players. We were developing players at a level that the big cities like LA and Dallas and them weren't doing it. We had pros after pros coming out. You don't see that coming out now in South Florida. All the kids are coming out, mostly are kids brought from somewhere else. But the high school coaches who opened that gym 24 hours a day, I mean, Bob Kaufman, I can go on and on, Charles Hankerson, Butch Ingram, those guys were 24 hours.
Pioneers.
All year.
Pioneers.
And I come down here, and I'm not to knock these kids, and I go see the high school games, and these guys are like, they're going through the motion. Nobody's getting on the kids. They're not demanding. They're not playing. Then they're not going to get better. Yeah. And I want to say this: they still have the same athletes. African American kids are still around. Hispanic kids that played are still around. What's not around are good coaches, because football hasn't dropped.
No,
and the same kids. So it was a time of coaches that developed guys, and my hat's off to all those guys that made it very, very competitive.
Yeah. So, Katie, your thoughts? You grew up here. You're a Fort Lauderdale product, man. You've always heard this is a football state. Yeah, this is a football. Your thoughts, man? Because I watched you on the OGs podcast with Udonis about a month or two ago, and you guys were really talking about it. And I was fortunate enough to be there and listen in, and it brought a lot of pride to me being a South Florida kid my whole life. Your thoughts?
Yeah, man. So for me, man, we stand on the shoulders of all the ones who've come before us, right? And there was a lot of great men in South Florida who don't get a lot of credit. Matter of fact, it was difficult for us to get recruited out of South Florida. I think it opened up like the mid-'90s, really. Yeah. I mean, of course, we had the Mitch Richmonds and the Eddie Jones.
You were an anomaly in those days.
But, man, we had guys who would average 30, 40 points, Okia Suaves, right? Devin Davis, who, was one of the pioneers at Miami High.
I happened to see a few weeks ago. By the way.
Edwards brothers. You know what I mean? Lucas Barnes down in South Miami. Tim James
Miller.
and you know what I'm saying? Like we had a lot of great players, but we were always considered a football state. I think it's shifting. It's changing. Yeah, we're still considered a football state because we put out more pros than anybody in football. But, man, if you look at what this younger generation is doing, the Thompson twins, you look at what Brandon Knight did, being a top 5 draft pick. You know, you're looking at look at the Boozer guys, right, and what they're doing. We're getting McDonald All-Americans. We won 7 of our local high schools won state championships this year. 7 of them.
Incredible.
You know, so, like, the coaching is getting better. The programs are getting better, in my opinion. And the respect that people are giving to Floridians now in basketball, they starting to feel us a little bit.
Man, I love hearing that. And I'm hearing a little birdie in my ear saying there's a massive prep school heading south.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing there.
Have you heard that?
Let's
just putting it out there,
just put it out there, man. Let's speak it into the.
It ain't about dramas. It's all about commas, man. Absolutely. Anyway, so listen, my last shout out, because I can't get out of here without doing it for Petey. Panthers, everyone buried them.
Let's go, Cats.
They were 0-2.
Come on.
They're up 3-2. We're closing out.
Man, we're gonna be a hockey state next, dude.
Man,
Let's go. Let's go, Panthers.
I'm really rushing on the down low.
Yeah,
I'm on to get him.
Yeah, you everything.
Fellas,
You universal.
Man, listen, it was so great,
champ.
man.
Good to see you, buddy.
Nevin, thank you again
great.
for having
Coach, always good to see you, champ.
Listen, crossover, man. Flipping it up. Andy, we love you. Get back, man. This is hard work. Peace.
We out.
Let's do it.
Beyond the narrative. Beyond the narrative. Best in class, so pray for my peers. Slingshot bullet that's clear. Your weak shots couldn't pierce through bulletproof ears. A martyr, a menace. I'm leading horses to drink and pulling teeth like I'm feeding the dentist. Beyond the narrative.